So you've been using stevia because you thought it was the healthy, natural alternative to sugar, right? But lately, you've been wondering, is stevia actually bad for you? Maybe you've noticed that bitter aftertaste that just won't go away. Or perhaps you've heard conflicting reports about stevia's safety. Or maybe you're just tired of your healthy coffee tasting like you dumped grass clippings into it. Today, I'm going to give you the honest truth about stevia, the good, the bad, and why so many people who try to end up going back to sugar are looking for something else entirely. Hey everyone, I'm Owen, founder of California Ice Protein. And look, I've been exactly where you are right now. I wanted to find a natural sweetener that actually worked, and stevia seemed like the obvious choice. It's natural, it's plant-based, it has 0 calories. What could go wrong? Well, as it turns out, quite a bit actually. Now I know you're not casually researching stevia for fun, are you? You're probably here because something about your stevia experience hasn't been quite right. Maybe you've been using it for a while and you're starting to wonder if all those health claims are actually true. Or maybe you tried stevia and had a bad experience. And now you're trying to figure out if it was just you or if stevia really does have problems. And here's what I hear from people all the time. I wanted to like stevia, but, and then they tell me about the bitter aftertaste or how it made their coffee taste weird, or how they just never felt satisfied after using it. So let me start with the most obvious issue. This is going to sound harsh, but stevia often tastes terrible. There's actually a scientific reason for this. Stevia isn't actually one ingredient. When you buy stevia, you're actually getting one of several different compounds extracted from the stevia leaf. And these different compounds behave very differently in your mouth and in your body. The main sweet compounds in stevia are called stevioglycolides. Now, some of these taste relatively clean, but others have the really intense bitter aftertaste that can linger for minutes after you finish eating or drinking whatever you put stevia in. And here's where it gets tricky. Most stevia products don't tell you which specific stevioglycosides they contain. So you might try one stevia product and hate it, then try another and think it's okay. You're not going crazy. They actually do taste different because they contain different compounds. But let's address the bigger question you're probably here for. Is stevia actually bad for you from a health standpoint? The FDA has approved certain stevia extracts as generally recognized as safe. So from a regulatory standpoint, stevia isn't considered dangerous. But here's what's interesting. They didn't approve the whole stevia leaf, just specific processed extracts. Now, some people do report side effects from stevia. These can include digestive issues, headaches, and in some cases, allergic reactions, especially if you're sensitive to plants in the ragweed family. Most people, the biggest issue isn't safety, it's satisfaction. And that brings me to the real problem that nobody talks about. When I was researching sweeteners for our ice cream, I discovered that stevia has their weird psychological effect where it tastes sweet, but your brain knows something's off. The bitter aftertaste acts like a signal that says this isn't real sugar, and it can actually leave you craving the real thing even more. So you end up in this frustrating cycle where you're trying to be healthy by using stevia, but you're never really satisfied. You finish your stevia sweetened dessert or drink, and 20 minutes later, you're still thinking about something sweet. The reason stevia often tastes so weird isn't because it's generally bad. It's because those stevioglycosides I mentioned earlier trigger different taste receptors than sugar does. Some of them trigger bitter receptors along with sweet ones, which is why you get the distinctive aftertaste. And here's the frustrating part. Heat makes it worse. If you try to bake with stevia or put it in hot coffee, those bitter compounds become even more noticeable. So the very things you want to sweeten, your morning coffee, homemade cookies, whatever you end up tasting, is off. Now, here's something most people don't realize about their natural stevia extract. It's actually highly processed. To get from the stevia leaf to the white powder and into the packet, manufacturers have to use chemical solvents and multiple purification steps. I'm not saying this makes it dangerous, but it's ironic that people choose stevia because they want something natural, when what they're actually getting is a heavily processed extract that's pretty far removed from the original plant. You've probably also seen different types of stevia products: stevia leaf extract, stevia in the raw, pure stevia extract, and wondered what the difference is. Here's the truth: they're all processed differently. contain different ratios of those stevioglycosides. Stevia in the raw, for example, it's actually mostly dextrose with some stevia extract added. So if you're trying to avoid sugar and blood sugar spikes, you're not getting what you think you're getting. Pure stevia extract is more concentrated, but it's also more likely to have that intense bitter aftertaste because it contains higher levels of the bitter compounds. So here's my honest take on whether stevia is bad for you. Stevia probably isn't going to hurt you from a health standpoint, but here's what is actually bad about stevia. It doesn't solve the problem you're trying to solve. You want a sweetener that tastes good, doesn't affect your blood sugar, and actually satisfies your sweet cravings. For most people, stevia fails on at least two of those criteria. It doesn't taste clean, and it doesn't provide genuine satisfaction. That's exactly what I discovered when I was developing California Ice Protein. I tested stevia extensively, and every single time, taste testers would say the same thing. It's fine, but it doesn't taste like ice cream. The bitter aftertaste was always there, lurking in the background. That's when I discovered monk fruit extract. Unlike stevia, monk fruit doesn't have bitter compounds. It tastes clean and sweet without any aftertaste. It doesn't trigger that "this is fake" response in your brain. The difference was immediate and obvious. People would taste our monk fruit sweetened ice cream and say, "Wait, this is the healthy version." They couldn't tell the difference from sugar sweetened ice cream, and more importantly, they felt completely satisfied afterward. So is stevia bad for you? Probably not from a safety perspective, but is it good for you? That depends on what you're trying to achieve. If you want something that technically reduces calories and doesn't spike blood sugar, stevia might work. But if you want something that actually satisfies your sweet tooth and doesn't leave you with weird aftertastes, you might want to keep looking. Look, I spent months trying to make stevia work because I wanted to believe in the natural sweetener story. But at some point, you have to be honest about results. If stevia leaves you unsatisfied or gives you the bitter aftertaste, it's not solving your problem. It's just creating a different one. The goal isn't to use the most natural sweetener on paper. The goal is to find something that actually works in real life, that lets you enjoy sweet foods without compromise. So have you tried stevia? And if so, what was your experience with the taste? Did you notice the bitter aftertaste I'm talking about? Drop a comment and let me know. And if you're tired of settling for sweeteners that don't actually deliver satisfaction, I'll put a link to California Ice Protein in the description. It's one of the few products that I know of that uses monk fruit instead of stevia, so you can experience what a clean tasting natural sweetener actually feels like. If you want more honest takes on popular health ingredients, hit the subscribe button. I'm committed to telling you the truth about what actually works, not just what sounds good in theory. I'll see you in the next video.